From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode, and my name is Bill. Who else is hosting?
My name is Vicky.
Your name is Vicky. Miss Vicky, we've got a guest. We've got one of our fun guests. He returns. Yep. He's still making bad choices, but that's okay. We still love him. He's awesome. He is a racing coach. I'm giving the Jeopardy, pull the blinds down and see who can guess. GLTC Series 2022 national champion. He started off so far. We're only in February. He's already a national champion in ChampCar. He doesn't leave much for anybody else, Miss Vicky. You notice that? Takes it all. He is now a podcast host. 1 lap 2021, 1 lap 2022. I will be looking at his taillights because I'm in a Sunday Cup car and he's not this year. So we'll know that. And perhaps the most important thing, he knows Carlton McCarguy.
Oh, no.
That's right. It's one of our favorite drivers of all time, Tom O'Gorman. Welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, guys. I don't want to associate with that man, that Carlton guy. He's weird.
He does. He sounds weird. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's not very good at hosting, though.
No.
He seems to get confused a lot. It's like a split personality or something. I don't know.
I guess we have to explain what this is now, don't we?
I guess we should. Yeah.
So yeah. Well, you mentioned our podcast. First of all, thank you for having me. Our podcast with DJ Alessandrini and I, called Lizard Brains Podcast. Both of us are now famously not car people. We are just we're not actually into the cars. We're into the activity with the cars. So our friends thought it would be funny to have us take a car quiz and make us show off how much we don't know. Mm-hmm. And DJ found this voice filter. I don't know where he got it. And he acted as the host. Maybe I shouldn't pull back the curtain. Maybe I should just say we found this guy on the side of the road.
Yeah, and this Carlton guy.
It's 20 minutes of DJ pretending to talk to himself with a voice filter is basically what happened. And it's spectacular and so stupid.
It's entertaining in so many different ways. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Some people hated it and some people loved it. So
really?
If you hated it, I'm really sorry. It was a lot.
They probably hated it because I didn't realize it was DJ.
Maybe he was pretty good.
It was. You kept getting confused as to whether he was supposed to give the answers like multiple choice or not. That was the best part. I was dying, my friend. So last time we spoke, you were in the midst, just a little flashback, you were in the midst of going for 2 autocross national events in your yellow NSX, which I'm sure you're missing.
Of course, I miss that car every day, but I forgot. I didn't realize it's been that long. This is almost a year and a half.
Yeah,
has passed.
Yeah, we talked a lot in person, but we never did podcasting stuff. So we might as well let everybody know the good and the bad of that. I think it was a mix. You were so close to getting both.
So close. Yeah, Acura loaned me an NSX, and the pitch was to go to the 2 biggest autocrosses of the year, which happened to be 2 weeks apart. So they let me drive this NSX on the street for 3,000 miles and go to UMI King of the Mountain, go to SCCA Solo National Championships. I did not win King of the Mountain. That damn Robert Thorne got me. But I did
a little bit.
Yeah. I will take that as the list of people that I lost to in 2021 or ever, I guess. And then I did get to win national championships though. So that was really fun. And I got to share that event with Andy. We got to co-drive together. I'm glad you brought that up. I haven't thought about that in a little bit.
That was pretty cool.
Moves fast. Yeah,
it does.
It was a lot of fun.
There's been quite a bajillion changes in your life since then. So we'll try and cover up all the ones we know about, and the ones we don't know about, maybe we don't want to cover anyway. Who knows? So Mr. Mr. Tom O'Gorman, what is the thing that's driving everybody crazy? And I was thinking about it last year. I'm like, when Tom won, first off, I put up a mild protest on your part because I told Adam that if there was a chance for you to not have won the national championship for any reason at the last event, then the scoring system's wrong. Adam doesn't believe me, but I'm just sitting there going, he won half the races. How can, anyway, off my soapbox. With that, I was like, well, maybe Tom can get to go do a little mix of coaching and a little mix of pro driving, a little mix of amateur grassroots next year. And so far, you've done that, and you've done them both very well.
Do you have a crystal ball?
I maybe. I mean, I'm trying to get you a lottery ticket. I'm thinking that might be the way to go from now on. So,
I didn't even plan for this to be kind of how this year has started off, but yeah, absolutely. That is kind of the dream for this year would be, to kind of put last year in a nutshell really fast. We put a lot of eggs in the basket of GLTC. We went to every single race. For the season, you only had to do, what was it, 7 weekends or something? We did all 10 anyway. Mm-hmm. And it was a lot, but we also bit off, doing some of our own event hosting. We bit off, I started my coaching business formally and did that full time for the first year. We did one lap and we did endurance races, and Formula Drift with Robert for every event. So, we did a lot last year, and this year I'm kind of looking at it in a bigger picture. What do I want to focus on? And exactly what you just said, I would love for this year to be a really fun mix at a healthy balance instead of last year's kind of crazy balance of emphasizing the coaching and emphasizing some dabbling in different series and diversifying the competition. Because last year was so, even though we did a lot, it was so focused on that. We really wanted to win first and second for ASM, Andy and I, in GLTC. That was like the goal. So now we have new goals, I guess, because we got that one.
Yeah, you did okay last year. I'm going to have to take that as a big win.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was so much fun. Although it's going to be hard to not drive that S2000 all the time because that car is so good.
Oh, wait.
What?
He just got me to something. So you had the prior S2000, and then you got the new S2000-ish. And then there was like this one weekend where you somewhat obtusely said it clicked or something switched and something changed. I'm not asking what changed, although if you want to tell me, I'm okay with that. I wouldn't understand it anyway. But can you describe what the feeling in the car was, perhaps?
Yeah, I forgot. So last time we talked, I had not crashed my original S2000 yet. So I crashed that car. That story was out. I was working on it. You're right. I think that was the week that I was building that bad aero package that we talked. So yeah, I killed my car. I might have to go back and listen to that.
Killed your car.
I don't know. People don't listen to our podcast, Tom.
Stop. They do. Stop it. They do.
You out there, thanks for listening.
Right.
So yeah, we got the new car, and the new car basically got all the parts from my old car right back on it. And it was a little bit better, but it wasn't that much better. Mm-hmm. And what changed was we actually took the original Moton shocks that came on the original S2000 off, put different shocks on. We got those ones sent off and freshened up, not revalved, just freshened up. We got them back and we put them back on the new S2000. And they were Moton shocks. And we also added an under tray to the front of the car. And we switched to Hawk ER1s that weekend as well. Mm-hmm. And that combination of the better fresh shocks, Motons, the Hawks and the under tray, I think it was like, normally you shouldn't make multiple changes at once, but we did all three at once. And it was like, it turned into, I've said it a bunch of times, it turned into basically a factory level, like race car. It turned into what, if I drive an Audi RS3 on the street or on the track, and then I drive an Audi TCR RS3, where Audi re-engineered this car to be a race car. It was that level of difference in, this is a good track car S2000 to, holy cow, this is a properly engineered next level. Not every S2000 can do this type of leveling up. So that was like, once we got there, Andy drove it first and he came back. He's like, it's pretty good. Like, okay, I can't. And then I drove it like, oh my God, this car is crazy good. And we immediately were going faster than anybody had gone on Hoosiers the year before. We actually reset, if you unofficially count Autobahn, we reset 5 track records this year from the previous year using street tires when the previous records were on Hoosiers. That's how good that car is.
Yeah, indeed. So did that kind of roll through the rest of the ASCM squad?
It is now. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the same parts are getting slowly accumulated back for everybody else's car. So Zach Lavoie got that package done to his car, and he got out of the car. It was the best thing. Gets out of the car. He goes, "Do you have a badass race car? Because I have a badass race car. Is your car amazing? My car is amazing." And he just kept going. He loved it. He was over the moon. Matt Waldbaum has since gotten some of those. We're building a new car for our friend Lena, who's getting most of that from the start. So that's the cool part about having so many, is we're now just like injecting that into every single build so that everybody can hate like that there's 7 of them instead of just 1 or 2.
But they all look similar, so that's good.
Yeah. Exactly. It's been really cool to be like, I got to be a part of that engineering side of the Civic development back in pro racing with the TCA Civic. And that one was like, figure out the parts and make it as good as possible. But we didn't do a lot of testing and tuning of the parts themselves. Like, it was just kind of like these shocks, the parts themselves didn't change much. It was more the tuning of the parts. This process has been 2 years now of truly changing part. Like, we changed the shocks from one brand to another. We changed bars at one point. We've changed so many actual parts that I've gotten to feel this development and be a part of that. It's been really cool. Learned a lot from that.
Let's see that.
So what about the IMSA race at Daytona? Could you tell us a little bit about that? The update on it? Of
course. That was so cool. So rewinding back, when I lost my Honda ride, I sat and thought a long time about what it would take to continue to be in pro racing. And we all know at this point, kind of like, there's no illusion about pro racing that it takes quite a bit of money to play in pro racing. There are plenty of people who are paying to be there and are super, super good. There are plenty of people who are paying to be there and maybe don't belong in that level of pro racing. But in general, that's what it takes now. So I was thinking, like, do I want to hustle like that? Because that's not how I ended there in the first place. And I kind of decided no. I kind of decided, like, I'm okay chasing what I would like to chase instead of focusing on chasing, the $20,000 here for this race and the $100,000 here for this season and that. So I wasn't making an effort to get back to pro racing. I had kind of made my bed with being content that I would probably not pro race again because I wasn't making an effort to be there. And the Rockwell Autosport team basically stayed in touch. They were pretty much the only ones from pro racing who stayed in touch, and just kind of every once in a while would shoot me a message like, "Hey, we've got a seat available here," or, "Hey, we really want you in the car at some point. This is, maybe an opportunity," but then it didn't pan out. And this year they reached out and they said, "Hey, we have a seat. We want you to be our finisher at Daytona for this car, and we want you to get yourself there. If you can get yourself there, we love to have you." And it was one of those where, like, I didn't think it was going to be real until we were standing there. But I also came in with this fresh lens of believing that I would never be there again, pretty much. And getting to be there was like, I enjoyed every second. I just walked around with my phone and kind of recorded stuff just so I could go back and look at it. Yeah, it was like the best. But the first time around, I felt like a kid in that I didn't really appreciate. It felt kind of normal and amazing, but cool. And I don't know how to describe it the first time around. Now I feel like I've matured and learned so much and grown up quite a bit that I was appreciating it on a different level, on more of a mature level. So it was amazing to get to be there. For the race itself, the practice sessions kind of rattled through. I did maybe 15 laps tops in the practice sessions, and I was supposed to drive the last 2 hours of the 4-hour race. And the second driver was in the car. He had done about 20 minutes of full course caution pace, driving around, waiting to get the green flag for his stint. Goes green, and on that very first lap, he gets collected in this crazy series of events, and the car gets not written off, but damaged really badly, and we had to retire it from the race. So I didn't actually drive in the race, and I had such a good time and had come in with such a perspective that I was pretty okay with that. Like, it wasn't this heartbreaking letdown. It was like, I've still got to do all of these cool parts of it. And then that led to the ChampCar race. So it was all 98% positive. That last 2% with a car and a wall wasn't not so positive, but
no, I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, what about your thoughts and reflections on being a pro racing driver, from before and then now?
Ooh, that's a good question. So before, like I said, I ended up there by making an effort, but not the usual way. And then it snowballed so fast from the B-Spec car to the TCA car being on contract with Honda to getting an IMSA ride with the Audi to then being on, full contract with Honda in the Civic TCR car. Like all of that snowballed fast enough that it started to become very normal very quick. And it also I started to take it seriously as like, this is my job. And this is like, it started to feel like this was going to be a longer term thing pretty quickly. And then when it ended so quickly, that's kind of why it hurt a little bit. And it also, that's why I had to think for so long. It's like, where do I go now?
Right.
But I had this, I hadn't really ever, I don't want to say I've never worked, but like I was kind of working gig jobs and then that became my job very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality check after getting dropped with like, oh, I have no employment. Like I have no plan. I have no anything. I got to figure this out.
This is who you are.
Yeah. Like kind of planning that, realizing that, thinking about the solution for it and starting to execute the solution over the last 3 years. That's where I say that maturity from going back kind of came in. So this time when I saw literally 300, 400 people walking to pit lane when the cars go to pit lane and the infrastructure that's around and the business that's functioning to make the whole machine turn, not just our car, but the entire series, that was never even on my radar before. That was like, I wasn't mature enough to even think about that. So I had a different, I had a different value of a lot of it this time. Felt much more mature as a driver as well. I felt much more mature from, being able to interact with my team. I was so shy before. I'm a pretty shy person and I'm not great at meeting new people. I would not even meet half the team on the last 2 teams that I drove with. And this time I was like, I'm going to meet every single person that works on the car, works on the team, helps us do this. Like, it's not almost before I had the perception of like, they're there for me to do my thing because this is my job to go out on the track. And this time it was like, we are all doing this together. I'm going to meet every single one of them. They're all doing this with us. I'm getting to do this with them, really. So I guess there wasn't a lot different on track. It was a lot of that, the behind the scenes, the headspace stuff that was a little different this time.
That's awesome.
Go ahead.
Did it, I guess my question for at least for the Daytona one and maybe ChampCar a little bit, but more Daytona, did it feel a little weird? Because you're kind of like, at least my assumption of what a pro race driver does is you're kind of an arrive and drive and you focus on your task. And I think maybe now you might be more used to or more normalized to the GLTC type weekend where that is far from your weekend, especially if you add on your coaching. Did that feel weird, and which way are you more comfortable now, I guess?
But first I'm going to answer your question, but you made me think of something else. So it didn't feel weird. Like I said, I kind of had a bigger perspective of how to treat the weekend, because you're right. Before, for sure, I would show up to like, this is my job. There were certain aspects of that I felt an obligation for a level of social media presence. I felt an obligation for a level of sharing what was happening and that kind of thing before. And I guess I still feel that a bit, but it was less amplified this time. It was more about immersing with the team and doing a better job as a driver. Last time I didn't even know how to pull my own data that I was pro racing. This time I knew how to like plug the laptop in and not only know how to do my own data thing, but now like that's my job. I'm the one that's like driving the data thing. So that was pretty cool. But what you made me think of actually is towards the end of last year, I talked about this a little on our podcast, so I'm sorry if it's a repeat story for you guys if you've listened to that. But The only event that I went to all of last year that I didn't both compete and coach was the Super Lap Battle event, where I did a time attack thing with Professional Awesome at the very end of the year. And that weekend was bookended by 2 weekends of private coaching where I didn't compete. I only coached. So I did this whole year of multitasking with coaching and competing both at the same time, even one lap, all of that stuff. There was at least one person that I was coaching. And to do a weekend of only coaching, no distractions with driving, and then do a weekend of only driving with no distractions of coaching, and then do coaching again with no distractions it was like this really obvious thing. Like, I really had a lot of fun doing both, and holy cow, I don't know how I did both all year. So that felt weird, and that let me realize quite a bit when I go to Daytona, I'm focused on something very specific. When I go to this year, I want to be focused on the task at hand and separate them out as much as possible, because it made me realize that I was so anxious all the time about balancing the both of them that I was probably not maximizing either very well. I was either dropping the ball on someone's coaching, or I was dropping the ball on maybe some car setup stuff and things like that. So yeah, that was a good experience.
Yeah. I can't imagine coaching somebody and racing at your level, especially because I have enough trouble at my level just instructing, and it's a whole lot easier than coaching, and we don't even get the data. We don't get the, we're just trying to make people survive out there sometimes.
Sure.
Or get yelled at by your beautiful bride. No. Okay. Sounds great.
I didn't say no. I said, please stop talking.
That was after you said no.
Oh.
I was asking her to do a drill that we do for NASA Great Lakes, and she just says no. And will you please stop talking? I'm like, sure. Sounds great.
Yeah.
We've been married a long time.
Was that the instructor telling the instructee no, or the other way around?
I was the instructor, and she just told me no. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to sleep in the bathtub tonight. I will. This is great. You're doing wonderful.
It was our first time testing on what it would be for him coaching me. It didn't work.
Sure. There's a reason we talked to you, Tom, that after that weekend it was over.
I used to watch, my parents have the most amazing relationship, like the kind of relationship you like aspire to, like a movie thing. Like they're amazing together. But I used to watch them try to do taxes together, or like spreadsheets together. And it would be the only time where I'm like, oh, mom and dad are fighting. Oh, it would always make me nervous. So I'm picturing that dynamic.
You're pretty much
in the car together. Like, yeah.
I think we've proven golf, to skiing, and race driving is two things that neither of us can coach the other one on. So I'm sure
who's the skier and who's the golfer?
I was a little bit more of the sports person. She was more the art person, but she liked doing it, and she's actually very athletic. She just didn't do it. So, she's like, oh, I want to go do that. And then I was like, okay, you're going to get a coach. That's not going to be me. Yeah. I'm going to get this club wrapped around my head.
Yeah, that's golf, you get a weapon.
Yeah.
Skiing's pretty safe. Well, you get sticks for skiing.
Yep.
It's fine. It's fun. She's good. She's awesome.
So, what do you think that any tips or tricks that you can share from the pro racing level that we might be able to apply in our grassroots effort?
Definitely. Ooh,
we don't have the 500 people that they may have, but
yeah,
we try.
But that's the thing is, neither does ASM, and
True.
I think that's we've employed some tactics that pro racing just does, that like that's part of the function at pro racing, but there's definitely a way to do that. I'm trying to think of where to start. I think some of it is a lot. There's some of the more successful grassroots drivers and racers that do this as well, and a lot of it's off track. So I think the preparation that goes into before you get to the track, so that you're not behind the moment you load off the trailer, is really, really important. I learned this from Andy Hollis, and then we execute it now with ASM, with Andy Smedegard and Kirsten, his sister, who helps at every race, and anybody else who comes and helps. Every car has a binder. Every car has a checklist, pre-session, post-session, and when it goes back to the shop of what service it gets. And just being able to keep track of what happened to each vehicle obviously there's 10 of them for us, and there's, you know, maybe one for most people, but it's still so it streamlines everything. So you don't do that like what do I do next thing. You just go to the checklist and you do the checklist thing.
Right.
I think that's huge. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything on track. I think a lot of it is balancing how much work you want to be doing when you're having fun, because for all of us, me included, this motorsport stuff is fun first. It's a hobby that it either grew from a hobby into something bigger, or it still is a hobby. And it's kind of tough to stay in the lane of working, because a lot of what we're doing feels like work, especially when it starts to go sideways, to have your fun. So I look at when we're at Grid Life Midwest and the concerts is starting at 8:00 and the track went cold at 7:00, and all the cars still need something. Inevitably, all the cars need something. Do you want to go to the concert, or do you want to make your car ready for tomorrow? And I think the more hobbyist mentality, the grassroots mentality, is a balance of that, where I can either get to that tomorrow, or I'll wake up earlier, or I'll do. And the pro is like, it's work. We're going to finish our work, and then we're going to go when the work is done. So I've felt myself challenged by making those decisions now that I'm working somewhere in the, you know, either as a coach. There have absolutely been days where I was done, but I wasn't done working. So me having to stay on the clock, basically, to make sure that everybody else got their service, that's my job. I think that you can make the excuse to not want to keep working when it starts to feel like work. Is that a fair way to say that, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes it's got to be fun.
Yeah. So that's the hard part, right? Is like, you're immediately cutting away on your fun. If you continue, if the work starts to feel like work and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I think that's not an option in pro racing, and it is an option in grassroots, and it's something you should be careful of if you're a little too quick to put yourself behind by either prioritizing the fun too early, or by not preparing enough, so that when you arrive somewhere, like the number of people that I watch now arrive to the track with cars that need something is mind-boggling to me. And now that I'm working on a car, my BRZ, I know it sucks. I'm learning to a whole new level that it sucks, but I still can't fathom bringing it to the track and not having stuff done. And now I have to do it at the track. That's you're setting yourself up to have a really bad time, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think the one thing that, because I don't know, it's not common in racing, but I have this overdue philosophy. I know I'm the first racer to ever have that problem. But a friend of mine, a friend of ours, John's, said, you know, you got to figure on what you're willing to do at the track and what you're not willing to do at the track. And if you're not willing to do it at the track, then don't bring that. You know?
Ooh, good point. Yeah.
Because, you know, I can bring everything. I can bring a whole spare car, but if I'm unwilling to do a full engine swap, drivetrain swap, why did I do that? You know?
Right.
So.
Yeah. Why bring an engine if you're not prepared to swap it?
Exactly.
You know, the last thing that makes me think of for the pro stuff, this is more on the, if you're pursuing motorsports for something other than just pure fun, meaning like you're trying to take it somewhere, the way that you interact in pro racing and the way you can kind of promote yourself in pro racing is absolutely something you can do in grassroots racing too. So I always email the announcers between every session if I'm going to be on a broadcast. I do it for Kyle. I try to do it for Kyle for Grid Life, but in pro racing for sure, they're getting an influx of information from me, so that if they happen to talk about me, they know what to talk about, and they talk about what I told them to talk about, kind of thing. And then the other thing is meeting as many people as possible. I think making time to meet people at the track is super important. And it's a mistake that I kind of made when I was racing for Honda. I didn't really diversify away from my paddock too much. I would go see friends, but I wouldn't go network within other teams and like kind of put my roots down other places, which is why when I got dropped from Honda, I was like, oh, I don't know who to talk to. I have nobody left to talk to.
Right.
But if you carve out I would say plan for like 1 hour a day to look at your own video and data, and 1 hour a day at the track to go walk around and meet somebody new, or go talk to somebody you haven't talked to that event yet.
Mhm.
Then you're making roads to things that are like bigger than just going and driving your car on the track.
Yeah, I think looking back on at least some of our most fun weekends, the ones where things went right and we could just, stop wrenching and walk the paddock and go say hi to people that we do and new people. Those were some of the better weekends that we've done.
Yeah.
And sometimes in a Lemons paddock, you get to see some pretty weird race cars too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's a great example for endurance racing. At Daytona, the team that I was with, they had a schedule for every day, and on the schedule was driver change practice. And if that wasn't happening when it was supposed to happen, somebody was holding us accountable. In this case, it was each other. There were two people paying attention to what time it was, and the other 4 drivers weren't necessarily ready at the time. So we went and got them like, hey, it's time for driver change practice. I don't really think most people even practice driver changes at grassroots endurance racing. But if it's on the schedule and it's part of your thing, then you're going to be much more prepared. But it also starts to feel like work sometimes.
Yeah, more work.
It has.
So, any friends or remembrances from the weekend that stand out or were surprised at Daytona?
Any
What do you remember the
moments?
most about Daytona?
The first thing that comes to mind is I didn't feel forgotten about, which I know sounds kind of sad and a little pathetic, but the number of people that came, they either saw me and stopped to make time for me, that I consider like pro racing people. I didn't really expect anything specific, but I didn't expect to walk in and have a bunch of people still remember who I was. Like, I was only in IMSA for a year and a half. It's been 3 years, and I'm sure they see people come and go all over the place, in and out, in and out.
It's also the shy nature of being a shy person.
Perhaps you think you mean like a shyer person would think.
Yeah, because I just know, like, as just being a relatively shy person and setting up networks with people and then having them remember you because you're a shy person, you don't normally put yourself out. But yeah, I think that's just a hangover.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. That's one of the big things that stood out to me, is like, this is really cool. It was a little reminder that I was doing some cool stuff when it was a little easy to forget about some of that time. I was reminded that I need to drive a front-wheel drive car more. That's one of the things that pops into my mind. So I haven't driven a front-wheel drive car competitively for since the TCR car, so 3.5 years or so. And I didn't feel uncomfortable, but I didn't feel as powerful in that car as I used to. So I'm like, I need to drive more front-wheel drive cars again. I need to flex that muscle more.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
remember, it's a pull, not a push.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and our car was a little too stiff, and it was a little sketchy in the bus stop. Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact that 3 years ago I would have thrown it into the bus stop and gone as fast as I could have anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if the car bites me for it, I know I had it. And this time I knew that the car could bite me, and instead of challenging it anyway, I was like, I'm cool here. I don't, if I go any further, I'm not going to go any faster probably, and I'm possibly going to create a big consequence. So there was a little bit difference in maturity maybe with how I was driving, but I know it was rooted in the front wheel drive car not feeling as like 100,000% part of my being as it used to. Right. So I need to fix that.
It was also an endurance race too, though.
Yes.
So
well, it was practice for an endurance race, so it was like I didn't even get in the competitive environment. Yeah.
So I worked our way to Road Atlanta.
Yeah.
Same team, little different outcome.
Yes.
How did ChampCar Road Atlanta National Championships go? I've already given it away, but pretend people don't listen to me.
Man, I kind of forgot it was a national champ. Like, ChampCar National Champion sounds pretty cool. It does.
Especially if you're old enough to remember the original ChampCar. It sounds really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right? Yeah, me and Tony Kanaan or whoever won that.
It's almost the same. Almost.
So it's the same team. They actually started with Lemons. It's really cool. They started with Lemons. Then they felt they started to outgrow Lemons a bit, so they went to ChampCar. became ChampCar, they started to feel like they were outgrowing that a bit. They got into American Endurance Racing, AER, and they got into WRL. And they were starting to feel like we can still do more. This is still, we want to push ourselves more. So they went to IMSA. That was over a decade. So they they're super familiar with ChampCar, and it's kind of their home more than IMSA is even. So they have these Porsche Boxsters they've been running. They used to run like Mustangs and some other stuff. And they're basically like, we feel really bad that Daytona went that poorly, and especially that you didn't even get to drive the car in the race. We have the ChampCar race next weekend. If you want to come down, we'd love to have you in the car. We'll give you a stint or something. So I was going down expecting very little, again, kind of like Daytona, just to like make the most of it. I'll get to drive the car probably once. There's this really cool Boxster, and it's ChampCar, so you can't modify it a ton, but it had, non-adjustable shocks and a big wing and a splitter, and felt like a race car. It sounded good.
Mm-hmm.
And the race ended up going in a manner that they wanted. I mean, they wanted to win so bad. And obviously, like, I love the competitive mindset, right? So we started to get a little bit off cycle on the fuel, and that meant that we needed to make an extra stop for fuel, which meant we needed to go 5 minutes faster on track than everybody else to make up that 5-minute pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
So the job became go as fast as possible. And that ended up them putting me and one other driver in alternating stints back and forth for over half the race. So I did like 6.5 hours of driving in the 14-hour race. The other guy did 3 stints as well. And then the other 3 that were supposed to drive the car, the crew chief, team owner, Eric, didn't drive at all. He wanted to focus on the strategy and pull this race off. And then the other 2 did their stints each, about close to 2 hours each. So I got to drive way more than I thought I would. We won the race. We had to drive as fast as possible to make up for the lost time. And we ended up winning by just over a lap, but with an extra 5-minute pit stop. And we basically put a lap on the field on raw pace over 14 hours, which was really cool. Just to like, we're going to go balls out on this 14-hour race and hope it works. And it worked, which, from Lemons, half the time, if you go as fast as possible, the car punishes you for it at some point.
Yes, indeed. So speaking of punishing, I believe you ended the season last year with the Magic tires, and then you became a national champion on the magical tires. Would you like to give an official Tomo Bridgestone RE71 RS review at this point in your life, or is it still TBD?
Captain's log supplemental.
Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
What?
I've been thinking about this Sentinel system.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sentinel system.
So what I was thinking was, we have the one car that's got the AIM dash that's slowing us down. Because installing the AIM dash is actually, it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time, and we haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in the Lemons car, and we'll worry about the AIM data information separately, and we'll kind of break it down into a project. Because then we'd have the motorsports video system that we really, really want, and we'd be able to stream it. We just won't have the data inside, but we have the data outside, so we can combine them later. But I think that's a really good solution.
So what does this Sentinel system do?
Well, if it had the AIM data, it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry and everything live. But we'd be able to not only record it for viewing after the race, but we could actually watch our car during the race.
Ooh, like on the monitor and everything?
On a monitor, if you were at home and I was at a track, or if you were at the track and I was at home, depends on who gets the short straw, but we'd be able to watch each other.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
And you know what? If you're driving, you know what you can do on the Sentinel system?
What's that?
You can communicate to me with your hands, and I can't do a thing about it.
Even better.
So, if you need to give a wave or a Jersey wave, whatever you need, we could save it and see it on the screen. And then you can have up to 3 different cameras, and it'll have picture in picture. You'll have the basic main shot out the front window, and then 2 cameras where you put them wherever you want. One could be on the driver, or one could be on the rear view. It's kind of cool.
Then we can upload it onto YouTube.
We could bore millions of people on YouTube.
I love it.
All right. Very well. You know what the only downside I see about this?
But
Your mom and my mom are going to be panic stricken the entire weekend watching this thing to see if everything's going well.
this is true.
We probably shouldn't tell them.
I like the idea of having a sentinel.
Well, luckily we have maybe two. Depends on how things go. We're going to try. All right. That sounds like a plan. That's the project. We got to get that ready for the next race.
Sounds great.
All right. Very well. Thank you, man.
No, review or like announcement.
Oh, I could do either. We're not used to breaking news. We can wait.
I don't know that there's any breaking news. I thought you were asking if we're racing on them anymore or something, but
sure.
I mean, they're amazing. They're basically on the same level as the Yokohama as for everything that I can tell. I haven't driven them back to back with the Yokohama, but I think everybody knows who's done 200 treadwear market stuff. The Yokohama is the benchmark when it comes to dry pace, single raw lap pace, pretty okay longevity pace, and wear, and it's really good in the wet. The Bridgestone is better in the wet. It holds up just as well or better in a long race. You know, we did almost 7 hours on one set of left side tires at that ChampCar race. It easily would have lasted to the 8th hour if it was an 8-hour race. Since it was 14, we didn't push it that far, but I honestly believe we could have made it go 14, which is pretty good for how fast it is. It's just fast. I mean, like I said, we reset 4 of the 5 track records we reset were on Bridgestones. The 5th one was actually on the Kumo that we used to run. And you're alluding to GLTC is they're no longer eligible in GLTC, which I think is fairly fair. It was, if you want a benchmark tire, and the benchmark seems to be the Falcon 660, it's faster than the Falcon 660. So there's a good reason that it probably got taken out of that class in particular. But I'm going to be using that tire in as many places I can this year. My goal is to go to the UMI King of the Mountain events again and use that tire. I want to do some time trials in my BRZ, and it's going to be on that tire. We're going to do some endurance racing now that we know it holds up. We're using them on the S2000s in a couple weeks at Barber. Like, we'll be using that tire as a go-to for everywhere but GLTC because we're not allowed.
Why not allowed?
Because they banned it. They took it off the permission list of tires.
Falcon's a sponsor too. So
yeah, I mean, there's no explicit like Falcon needs to be the best tire, but up to that point, the Yokohama had been banned, the Nankang had been banned, and those were the 2 that were really outliers on pace. And when the Bridgestone came in at those pace, I was honest with Bridgestone. I basically told them, like, we have a closing window here. It's probably going to get banned. But while it's legal, it's not so much banned as unclassified. It's not classified for the series anymore.
Let's ride.
Yeah. I was like, we got 3 races left. Let's do this thing up. So we did.
And you even practice pit stop changing of tires too.
We did. If you go through the rule book of GLTC, there's at least 5, if not 6, that we can count that we made just last year. If you count taking the tire away and the K24 hit and the K20 hit and the tire rule, and you start adding up how many rules we as a team got written, like, sorry, we're just trying hard.
ASM rebels,
We're just trying to do the best job we can.
Indeed, and you did.
Tom, what does your upcoming schedule look like?
Racing at Barber. Yeah. Oh, it basically hits the ground running in a couple weeks. So we're racing in WRL at Barber. So it's 2 8-hour endurance races, I think. And I'm actually driving a GP2 S2000 with ASM, and I'm driving a GP1 BMW with Andrew Rains in the same race. So I have to manage my time a little bit with that one. And then the GLTC season starts, which I'm not competing in full time, but I'm going to the track and I'll be coaching at Grid Life again. So that's a COTA. And then it just starts rapid firing between, like I said, I want to do some time trials with the BRZ. I want to do endurance racing. I want to do some Grid Life events still. We got a cool little project that I'm not quite ready to talk about that we're trying to build for Grid Life events that would be for the sake of fun only. And I'm really excited about that. And it also solves my front wheel drive seat time issue. So you'll see that coming soon, probably, hopefully.
Well, listen, if you're going into Sunday Cup and you're planning on getting DFL from me, I'm claiming DFL. It's mine. One of the garage heroes in training will finish DFL at all the races we're at, but that's okay. So, Tom, I need to talk to you about something you started doing, which makes me feel so much better. And I don't think it makes you feel as good as I think it should. So let's talk about your BRZ Tom Mechanic Apprentice training.
Mhm.
So being similar to you in so few ways. One that I know is that I much rather drive than wrench. It's okay. I don't mind doing it. It's just I'd rather drive than wrench. But watching your videos is helping me see that when somebody like Andy or somebody like, Alan or Jeremy or John on our side does something, and then when I try to do it, I end up dropping things and breaking things and doing it wrong. And, oh, what do you mean right doesn't tighten, or something not quite that bad, but pretty close. That it's not just that I am a different species. It's that they have had experience and I haven't, or interest or whatever. But it's making me feel better about my personal ineptitude mechanically, and seeing that there is a growth pattern, because even I think you've done 4 or 5, you can see
5,
that you're
yeah.
getting better even through that little bit. So I'm taking it as, and this is not in any way negative, and it's not intended to be anyway. If Tom can do it, then why can't I do it?
Yeah. I love that.
So
That might need to be the new tagline for the series, honestly, because that was kind of the loose idea. The whole BRZ thing was very unplanned. It was like, my friend works at Subaru and he sent me a message like 24 hours before the 2023 model went available for pre-order. And he's like, hey, just so you know, you can pre-order tomorrow and I can get you the VIP pricing, which gets you 2% off MSRP. So I talked to Andy about it and we're like, well, we'll at least put the down payment, the deposit on the build. What is it, like $500 or something? So we had no plan for it. We just put one in. We knew we could get it under MSRP. And then like 8 months passed and the dealership reaches back out and says, hey, here's the date your car will be here. Here's your VIN. Like, the car's real. And here's what's next. And we talked about it, and it just kind of, in that day or whatever I was feeling that day, I wanted to buy that car, and I wanted to challenge myself, not only to buy the car and make it work for myself, because it's more expensive than a thing that I should own is, and I don't need it. It's not for anything, but I wanted to do that. Like, I kind of wanted it to become my project. So that's how I got the car. And then it was like, well, what am I going to do with it? And it started to, it's kind of something Andy said, kind of something like Eric and DJ and I were talking about. It's like, it would be really cool to just learn from this car, and not only learn about the chassis so that we can eventually, hopefully, race some of these cars, which we're trying to lean into, but also learn for myself at my own pace for no reason how to work on the car. So the ultimate goal became, I want to do all the work myself. I want to turn all the wrenches, get as little help as possible physically doing it. I want to learn to do it myself. And then the more important part, the part I'm excited about, is I want to end up with a highly adjustable car like my S2000, kind of, that I can teach myself engineering of the chassis on, because I'm not very strong at that. That's kind of my disconnect. Like, I can tell you what the car's doing and I can tell you what I want it to do instead, but making it do that, it's going to take me longer than somebody else because I'm not as good at that part. So that's like, I want to, what would a documenting series look like of a race car driver who knows exactly what he wants but doesn't know how to get it? Is kind of like what I'm trying to do.
I'm right here. That's what I need.
Yeah. Well, and then and I try to make it amusing, I guess. We shoot and edit all of our own videos, so everything you're watching is shot on my iPhone, and then I edit it all on my iPhone. There's a really nice app that I found for free called VN Studio, just the letters V and N. Makes it super easy. And I pretty much cut out most of like the succeeding. I want to show the whole process. Like, I want to be completely honest. Obviously, I've like gotten pretty open on that series when I start to feel bad. There's plenty of it that I didn't film because I felt so crappy about myself that I didn't even want to be on camera. But in the end, like, I want to show the whole process. And what I'm learning is most people are where you and I are at. We're like, I don't really want to do this. I definitely don't feel good about it, but I have to. And I'm also kind of learning how coddled I've been for so long that like I kind of haven't had to do this, and I'm doing it for the first time, like on purpose with no pressure, and I still feel crappy about it sometimes. So yeah, it's teaching me a lot.
So I just want to make one request.
Yeah.
I would like you to keep the pre-event rating system going, because before you get into a certain aspect of a project, you'll be like, all right, I think I got this. I'm locked down. I feel like a 9 out of 10 out of this. Or sometimes you're getting into stuff and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. -5. Because a lot of times that internal ranking, at least inside my head, is always like, it turns into a fear of breaking the car and making it worse. So then I won't even start.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that you're just like, well, I mean, you've got a fallback position, and that you've got one of the best mechanical people that I know of standing by in case, you know, the certain things hit a fan. But sometimes it'll just keep you from like even grabbing the tool, or, you know, you'll just walk around the car looking at it for a few days, and you'll turn around and you'll be like, okay, that was 3 days I just took, and I don't think I turned a screw. So
yep. Yeah, I had that idea to, on a scale of 1 to 10 before every job, how confident am I going into the job, and then show me doing the job. And it's been almost perfect. Every time I go in feeling pretty confident, something goes wrong. And every time I go in going like, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. Like, I don't understand this at all. Those ones tend to go pretty smooth. Like the oil cooler. The oil cooler is like the first thing I did. I did not understand what that oil cooler was going to do, where it went. I thought parts of it went in different places, to the point that I finished it. I didn't really know if I was done. And then it was like, well, you're done. That's all you do. The cool part is I edit the video too. So I watch myself do the job dozens more times. So it's kind of like I'm doing the job 12 to 20 times, 10 to 20 times instead of just once. And by the end, I'm like, why is this guy on the camera struggling so hard with this job? This looks so easy. Like it starts to make more sense to me as I edit, but usually doing the job, I don't understand what I'm doing really. Yeah, I thought the vent went in somewhere else in the, like, it just, there's no inherent understanding of what's happening with these parts.
No, I get that. And the other thing I see is that the one of the reasons we started our podcast was everybody's like, well, you just do it like you normally do it. Or some of the stuff that's just assumed, like, oh, when you're mounting a splitter, like this is the one that's bothering me right now. When you mount a splitter on your car, you just mount it like normal. I'm like, I don't know what normal is. I don't know. I don't know what that means.
I have nothing to gauge.
What,
I don't even know what a splitter is.
We don't have a splitter on my car, not because I don't have one sitting in my garage, not because I don't want one sitting on my car, not because I don't have a car that needs one. We have no splitter on my car because I'm worried that it's going to come off, go under my car, and hit somebody else behind me. And I like my friends, and I don't want to have this piece of plywood come flying at 95 miles an hour, spinning like a Tekken blade or something, and, you know, take people out. So yeah. I don't know how to attach it to the car like normal because I've never done it.
No, though I think what I'm realizing being around Andy and Dakota in the shop, who works for Andy and other people, like they kind of look at it like Lego, where you don't get intimidated when you open the bag of Lego and there's obviously instructions, but if you just had to make something out of it, it's not intimidating. You have to figure it out a little bit, but it's not that hard. That's a little bit how they think of it. Where like, there's not necessarily a wrong way to do it. There's a better and a worse way to do it. And as long as I figure out a better way to do it, like I can bolt this to this, they're not worried about that doing it wrong, really, like you and I are. Fun fact about the splitters, though, the under tray that I said we added for Autobahn that made the car so good, I built that. And for the most part, I did it myself, other than like 2 people lifting and getting in the right position when the car was and that thing fell off basically every race. It didn't actually depart the car, but it was to the point that you could see the whole bumper doing this, fluttering in the wind. And I'm driving down every straight here in the thing, like my steering wheel's wobbling, and like, why did I have to build this? Couldn't someone more qualified than me build this?
Literally anybody, because the one that sticks out on my mind is, it was just like 3 seconds of a video where Andy was installing the AIM dash onto the, I believe it's the LS86. And he just took one of those, it looked like one one of those starts with an L. Anyway, it's the dash bar mounts onto. It looked like he welded it to a flat piece of stock and just stuck it onto the steering wheel column. And I'm like, that's a whole video for me because I never saw that before. It's like, I have no idea. I have this dash. It's sitting in a box. I've had it for 2 years. Haven't put it in. Don't know how to mount it. So I'm like, send another video of that. But,
that's one of the biggest challenges now that we are making this content. We almost, especially for, like you said, he doesn't necessarily think of like that specific bit. That was like such a small part of the big thing he's trying to do. Exactly. Making a video just about that is not really on our radar, and I don't understand what we're doing. So I can't be the one prompting like, well, we should make a video of this fabrication you're doing, because I don't. First of all, half time I'm not there. I'm off doing my own thing.
Yeah,
goofing off at Daytona or something, and then the other half the time I don't know what he's doing anyway. So for the combination of like we're doing content worthy stuff basically all day, every day. If there was a team of people following someone to actually film everything
and edit it.
But it's super hard to either, first of all, slow everybody down.
Yeah, that's true.
Slow everybody in the shop down to create the content, but also just to like segment out everything. There's a fresh build going on now, and we actually talked about breaking it down into, these are all of the pieces that we want to make an individual video about. But then they get working, and then all of a sudden the job is completely done, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't film half of that. Ah, crap."
Yeah.
We're very amateur filmmakers for sure.
You got time. You got time.
I'll Better watch. Than nothing.
I'll watch. No worries.
We're making them for you guys.
Exactly.
So you brought up about ASM quite a bit during this conversation. For our listeners, could we probably talk about that a little bit?
I think we skipped that part. Whoops.
The ASM, what is it?
Of course.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yes. So ASM, it stands for Andy Smedegard Motorsports. So Andy started the shop 4 years ago. He quit his full-time job, started working on cars, has developed it to the point that it is almost exclusively track and performance builds. Highly known for the K-swap, pretty much, putting a K-series Honda engine into S2000s or BRZs, FRSs, Civics, Integras, all that stuff. So I met Andy 2 years ago. We interacted more. We've known of each other for a long time, but we met and started working together more when I had my S2000 and it was a dumpster fire and I was not able to work on it competently. And he basically felt bad for me and said, like, bring it up and I'm going to help you.
Pity on you.
It's
mechanical knowledge for the poor.
Yeah.
Mechanical knowledge for the poor.
I think the final straw was I had an axle fail. And I've been around it now. They fix an axle in 5-10 minutes. Like it's like nothing. And I let my car sit for like 2 months, and I skipped a race weekend. And I remember seeing him at that event, having talked to him a little bit more. And he's like, why didn't you bring the car? It's like, I didn't know how to fix the axle, and I didn't have an axle, and I couldn't really afford to like get someone to fix it. And he was like, really? That's why you didn't come to this race with your car? Because that thing that broke, that's what held you back. It was kind of one of those things. So anyway, I brought my car up to him, and in me coming up here the first couple times to like be there when he was working on my car and try to either learn something or help, I roll my eyes as
help
I say, I'm gonna help. Yeah. We realized that we have a lot in common with both our goals with motorsports, and he's running his shop and I was starting my coaching. So we kind of have this spectrum of if you want to call them services, basically we have the spectrum of experience that we can support each other by coming at it from both ends. And now we've since started ASM Events, which is our own events company. That's really the only thing that he and I share. So the shop and the race team stuff is all him. The coaching is all mine. And then, in the middle, we are linked with that events company. But everything we do complements each other. So, he might have a driver that a person that wants to build a brand new car, and they might want some coaching to go along with it. Or I might have somebody who I'm coaching that needs some help with their car, and they send it to Andy. Both of those things have happened now. So ASM is basically a race shop, and I moved up here now, so I live in central Wisconsin where the shop is. That's another change since last time.
That's true.
And I basically go to the shop most days that I'm not traveling, and we have a companion in motorsports in a similar lane of life to like bounce everything off of and work together and try to support each other. And it's honestly super cool. Like, it's something I've never had before. I've had friends help me with my racing, and I've gone to the track and seen my friends at the track, but I've never been a part of a group. You know, at this point, there were probably 5 to 15 ASM cars at every Grid Life event last year. And 6 of the top 10 in the GLTC championship were ASM drivers. So, I mean, it's like a pretty dominant force when all of these people they'd otherwise be doing it on their own, and they just have kind of collected into this team. I know it frustrates people that we kind of combine resources like that, and it starts to look like a big professional effort, but it's kind of a extremely sophisticated version of a bunch of buddies going to the track together. And it's been super fun to like kind of foster that a little bit, or at least be a part of it. I don't know if I'm fostering it, but I'm tagging along.
So I can't imagine how Andy does an event. Like, I went over to go see you guys at New Jersey Motorsports Park, and granted, it was, what was it, 180 degrees? It was, and
182.
Yeah, it was, you know, somewhere around there. It felt worse. I mean, I felt like the chicken on the rotisserie. The only thing missing was I wasn't spinning enough. But you know, he doesn't just keep track of his car or your car, or he's got like 5 cars minimum, sometimes more. And the amount of, I'm not going to say distraction in a negative term, but the amount of distraction he has from actually driving at the level that he still drives at, it's amazing to me. I mean, I've wanted him on the podcast since we started. He's one of those people we started off saying we really want to get him on the podcast. I just feel bad adding one more thing onto his schedule, so I haven't ever called him. So he hasn't even had a chance to say no yet. So, or ignore us. Either way, we're good at both. But I can't imagine how he's able to do and focus on so many things at one event and keep everything juggling, because it's amazing just to watch, never mind to even do.
Yeah. When we did a kind of a year in summary catch up before PRI, so that we could go into PRI, and when we go into our meetings at PRI, we could say, here's everything we did. And when you list out what we did last year, it's insane. I don't know how we actually did it. And I think part of it is you can't look at it. It's kind of like doing your budget on your race car. Like, it's better to just maybe don't, and then just like try to make it work. Like, we didn't look at the year and go, oh my God, we're doing a lot. We just ended up doing a lot. And to your point with how specifically he manages time at the racetrack, not to mention even the first time anybody else's car breaks, the first thing they think of is to come to ASM for every part, every tool, every service they could possibly need. It's constant, like you said, distraction. So I'm sure the driving is similar for me. It's like the respite. It's like the 1 20-minute segment of the day that you just get to worry about that.
Right.
Until he sees that my car broke and he's on the radio saying, I need this, I need this, I need this. As soon as we park, we're going to do that engine swap. It's crazy. But we have a pretty well-oiled machine now going where, you know, Andy is basically the one that is most qualified to put out the big fires. And as I said, everybody else is an enthusiast who'd be doing this at some level on their own, whether they were a part of ASM or not. So there's a group of us that will be kind of in constantly aware of fuel levels, tires, tire rotation, tire pressures, you know, the kind of general service that it only takes a little bit of knowledge to do. And that's where the checklists come into handy, because, you know, Kirsten Miller is his sister. She comes to every single race, and she's the one that's really tracking the binders and keeping track of whose car has had what done and what car needs what done. And if it's not a big fire, somebody else does it, not Andy. Because when you have 10 cars sitting around, there's always one that's kind of on fire.
Yeah, seems like
figuratively most of the time, but sometimes literally too. So like the one car that needs the big fire put out, that one is where he puts his attention, and then the other 9 might get service from a team of 3 or 4 of us. It's rarely me, because I'm usually coaching, but I try so hard. Like, if I have a moment of not coaching, I'm at least trying to like get caught up on where everybody is to know if I can help. So that's what's really cool, is it's turned into this big support structure, because he could not do it on his own. Most of us wouldn't be there the way we are there without him. So we try to like balance it. And that's why it works as like a nice team environment. That was something that was different than like at Daytona. That there's like a top down, rather than a self-sufficiency type thing in a lot of the pro teams. And ours, we try to be as self-sufficient as we can until the fire gets big enough that we need the firefighter.
Exactly.
So, why don't we discuss a little bit about Lizard Brain Podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did you start it?
Well, it's something that DJ wanted to do with Eric Coutil and I for probably over a year before we actually started it.
That's a non-starter. Eric is so busy.
I was going to say, Eric, first of all, he genuinely he didn't want to do it. He's just not something he's interested in doing, sitting and talking like this every week.
Officially, yeah.
Yeah, in some sort of official capacity, yeah. So he didn't really want to do it, and he doesn't have time for it. It was the same timeline he's building that brand new car.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of like, it was a running joke. Like, we're going to call it the Eric Coutil podcast, but Eric's never on it.
Mm-hmm.
And just like DJ and I host the Eric Coutil podcast, and that's how we have Eric present. And we just finally started to, like, I think DJ, his desire to do it never went away. And for some reason, we just came to the conclusion, like, well, let's just do it. What do we call it? And the focus of the podcast is very much, it's kind of somewhere between like the mental headspace and the competitive spirit that anybody who's participating in any hobby has with that, with that output or that
Mm-hmm.
outlet, and being motorsports people, not car people. So it's not a car podcast because we don't really like cars. We like driving and we like motorsports, but it's not really a motorsports podcast because it's more about that competitive headspace, that thing that makes, the thing that when you see your predictive timer showing you a new personal best lap, like the thing that's in your brain, the lizard part of your brain starts to get excited and chase that. Like, that's kind of where we started it at. And it's just the two of us. For me, it's something that I feel I'm supporting DJ doing. It's never my job to tell him no. Like, whatever his ideas are, let's do it. Let's try it. Bounce ideas off of each other. Some of the episodes go real left field. Like, we talked about some of our favorite video games, and we've talked about
Mm-hmm.
jobs we used to have, or maybe we haven't done the jobs one yet, but other ones are like falling into little mind traps that you get into with competitive fields, or your mental game going into an event. Talent versus effort was a big one that we talked about, because he doesn't believe that talent exists. And after he made his argument,
skill,
so we talk about a lot of that kind of stuff, and there's always a through line of cars and racing, but sometimes it goes way over here and way over there with, where your brain sees opportunities to improve and all that stuff.
So what are your goals for the podcast?
Well, like I said, I feel it's definitely DJ's baby when it comes to like creating the biggest version of it that it could be, partially because I don't know that I have time to like,
what's one more thing,
Yeah, I definitely don't have time to like drive that ship. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I think, I don't really know. We don't really have a mission statement past, for me, it's partially just an excuse to hang out with DJ now, because I've moved to Wisconsin and we don't see each other except at the track every once in a while. So that's really fun, just to get to hang out with my friend every week. I could totally see it getting to the point where maybe we have like a sponsor or two, and we kind of have some aspirations to lean into the guests a little bit more, but not in the standard way. We have some ideas on how to like put a little twist on it. Maybe some live recordings where we have an audience and Q&A live stuff like that. I don't know that there's like a specific end goal, but more like ideas that we want to do.
Yeah, we do the audiences every time. Just nobody's ever come. So that's fine.
Well, can I ask where did the motivation, you've shared where the motivation for this comes from, but what's the motivation to continue doing it? Because you guys are years into it now, and we're only 20 episodes.
Yeah. So I guess we started it trying to help people get started, and to help people who are already starting to get a little better, because, if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing, at least for me. And, we started off our numbering scheme with a 4-digit, like our first episode is 0001. So we're in for at least 1,000 episodes. And if you guys want us to stop at 1,000, we'll stop at 1,000, but we're almost halfway there, but not quite, getting close. And
that's impressive.
We've got some more, I've still got a list of a bunch of topics we've never covered. And as we learn more, we learn that we knew even less than we thought of when we first started. So, and Miss Vicky started off as exceptional paddock game and artist, and now she has become one of our primary mechanics because she likes it. And you know, I don't know why do you keep doing this besides I say it's time to do another podcast.
Me?
You.
I like the idea of getting more information, learning more, especially when it goes down into the creative side and the mechanic side. There's always something to learn. And honestly, I enjoy when we snag people and bring them along. It's very, very exciting. I think our big focus is drawing more people in. That's where our energy comes from, and sharing it. And we learn at the same time.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from, especially like the email segment that we do every episode. We try to cover like between 1 and 3 emails. And some of the stuff that people respond with is something I never would have expected. It was something that they took away from it, or something that they enlightened us to. That is so cool to me. But I also think, like I mentioned a minute ago, like there's a lot of car podcasts. You know, we're kind of in the same space with this grassroots audience that we're broadcasting to, or whatever you want to call it. But I think our unique take on that is that really hyper competitive minded person. And it's something that when you're mentioning something about Adam, like Adam does not understand the way we think, and we don't understand the way Adam thinks, because we're just wired differently. We have that hyper competitive thing that we can't help but give into, the lizard brain thing, that if there's an opportunity to be more competitive in some way, we're gonna figure it out. But then through that, you kind of learn like some healthy balances with that. And we are lucky that we're in a cool competitive hobby. We're in a cool hobby that can be competitive. It can be as competitive as you want.
Right.
And I think our unique take is that we're very focused on that, like that competitive spirit part, which translates across all disciplines of anything that's competitive or scaled in any way. Like you can make anything competitive.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Gamification is a big part of my day, because I like to, if you give me a game and you give me some rules and you tell me what the thing is, I'm going to sit there and try to figure out how to win. I mean, It just is. All right, Tom, this doesn't sound like it's going to be comfortable for you, but I need to know. This is the last serious question we have, maybe. I don't know. We have lots of questions. We could keep going. So if Tom of the future was looking back on 2023, what would a great year look like to Tom of the future?
Ooh. I actually have a pretty good vision of this, but I still haven't figured out how to verbalize it.
Okay. Well, we got lots of tape in this recorder, so we can go for a while.
Sure. No, I want to compete in a wide variety of arenas this year. Like I said, last year we put all of our focus in one spot, and even though I did a diverse number of things last year, it felt very singularly focused. I want to. There's like 5 or 6 arenas that I want to compete in this year, all this year, including endurance racing, sprint racing, maybe multiple types of sprint racing. I want to do time trials in my own car. I want to do the UMI payout autocrosses. You know, there's so many different things that I want to focus on, and I want to say that those are my competitive outlet. And for everything else, I want to say no to the competitive outlet and focus on the coaching and really build that into. Last year, I felt like I got a little better at it every time. I know I'm going to get a little better at it every time anyway, but this year I feel like I know what I'm doing for the first starting, whereas last year I had to figure it out all through the year. So I don't know how to say that into a piece of success, but
no, it's fine. It's just
kind of balancing that competitive and that competitive outlet and that professional outlet, if you want to call it that. Fluidly and smoothly, and those are the first 2 thoughts. I'm trying to think what else.
Is there any event goal of the year besides you want to go 3 time 1 lap, or
oh, there you go. We can have an official 1 lap announcement. I'm doing 1 lap again. You said you love announcements.
I do. Ding ding ding
I
ding.
I haven't shared that yet, but Yeah, and a Porsche 911 GT3, which would be fun.
I'll be
No,
way
I've
behind.
learned, I kind of learned last year that I shouldn't set my goals based on like a performance metric. I should set my goals based on like a deliverable. So like I shouldn't go in saying I want to, I guess going in and winning is a deliverable, but
I always put it as you focus on the process and the outcome is the result. So if I do everything I can, like an endurance race is a tremendous example. You can do everything right. You can prepare, you can do anything, and you can get collected 3 laps in and nothing you can do about it. So you take care of what you can control, and the outcome it's nice, but I think we felt better about several races than the one that we won so far.
Yeah.
So
yeah, amen. I had a, long story short, I had a pretty rough end of this year because in my head, once the car was so good, I was supposed to win every race. And that is a really garbage mentality to have.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that until after. So when I went into every single race weekend believing that I should win every race, not like I was entitled to win every race, but that the circumstances were such that I ought to be winning all these races. When I won, it wasn't all that fulfilling by the end. And if I lost, it was really bad. It was like Tom's into a tailspin for a week, kind of bad. So that's where I say I've kind of learned to go off of a performance metric that is like, I want to go in and win. Probably is, even if you do, it's not going to feel that great. And you're probably going to put yourself in a bad spot, even if you win.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of our guys who's in charge of production at where I work. I'm like, listen, you're in production. All you can do is tie, because you make everything you're supposed to make at the price you're supposed to make it on the day you're supposed to make it. You tied. If you make too much, you lose. If you make too little, you lose. If you make it early, you lose. If you make it late, you lose. So all you can do is tie. So you're basically went into the end of the season thinking, the best I can do is tie my expectation, and that's a terrible place to be.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I can't complain. It was still,
the other guys are trying too.
Still awesome. Yeah.
You got some good drivers out there and some good cars, and they're trying too.
That's funny. You talk about at Daytona, there were a lot of people that, like I said, a lot of people that remembered me and they wanted to know what I'd been up to. It was really hard to kind of do the quick and dirty elevator speech about what I've been up to with GLTC, because I still believe to this day it's the most competitive series I've raced in, and possibly the hardest to win in. And yet it's kind of grassroots racing that it's really hard to go into a pro paddock and be like, the racing I've been doing is really, really hard, and genuinely believe, like, I know that when I'm racing against Jeremy and Andy and Robert and Eric Catil and like that group of people, literally any of them are going to go sit in an IMSA car and also be as competitive as I have been.
Right.
So when, talking about it in that way and convincing those guys like what I've been up to and racing 40 races a year and stuff, they're still like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's awesome.
Yeah. I think Grid Life and GLTC in specific it's a weird spot in their growth, in that the people who know it love it or think that's all everybody talks about. And then there's so many more people. It's kind of like our podcast. There's so many more people who don't know anything about it. And they're like, what are you talking about? And you have to, there's nothing seemingly in between that we've seen. Even we deal in the same circles of racing, and there's nothing in between. It's like, what do you mean? Or, oh my God, I watch it every week. So, weird.
There were a couple people crewing on our team that knew about it. They were either fans of drifting, they were fans of a lot of the Rockwell team, the crew that were working for them that weekend are enthusiasts themselves, which is cool because that's not usually the case with the crew guys. So there were a couple of them that were like, you were driving that S2000, right? Or you go to the Grid Life event, or I say Grid Life, and they're like, oh, I know about that. Have you seen and you get that like, oh, I see you. Oh, hit my mic.
It's okay.
But it's it was pretty fun. It was, I don't know, I forget the point of that story, but it was a story.
Yeah, that's okay. It's kind of like most of our podcasts. We forget the point. We just keep talking until we're done.
Yeah.
So what is your upcoming ASM track and ice schedule? Do you have one?
Yes, we do. So
Woo-hoo!
Oh, I'm so excited.
I wish we were closer for the ice stuff.
You missed a good year to miss unfortunately for us, the weather stayed flirting in and out of
so mild.
Exactly. It was just in and out of freezing conditions enough that like there is tons of ice. Like if you just go drive out on the lake, you're not going to fall through. But it's all about the condition of the top layers of ice and how many times it's frozen and unfrozen. And it basically makes it like really crappy, and it like ruts up and it gets really rough and slushy and kind of icy, and it's icky. It's not good. So basically the ice has only been good for like 2 weeks right now, and it's already getting to be not good anymore. So we're hosting Ice Battle with Grid Life this weekend. That's 2 days from when we're recording, so it's probably in the past at this point. But
by one day.
This comes out Sunday?
Monday.
Got it. So yes, it's a couple days in the past. I think we're actually going to have it at a speedway on asphalt, but we're going to try to like leave all the snow, so it's at least like snow driving on asphalt. And then we have our first ever full weekend track day at Autobahn. That's going to be April 15th and 16th. So we have intermediate, advanced, and competition track day groups and a drift group that's going to be on the big track. So other than Grid Life, we're the first track day group that is allowed to drift at Autobahn, which is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We have a full weekend that weekend in April. We also have the Friday before Grid Life in June, which is June 23rd. And we also have the Thursday before Grid Life at Carolina Motorsports Park on March 30th. So the whole idea for ASM events, like we know we can host autocrosses. We know we can host our own, we call them driver's ed, where it's kind of like drifting autocross, if you want to call it that. Ice racing. But then there's this group called David Murray Track Days that started hosting track days right before PCA events. And then it grew into this really cool symbiotic unofficial test day thing where David Murray Track Days always hosts a test day before PCA events. And everybody knows about them, and all the PCA guys go to that, and then they stay through the race weekend. We're like, well, why don't we do that with Grid Life events? Because who doesn't want an extra day of practice at Autobahn before you hit the track for competition? And last year we did it, and it turns out like 85 people were interested in that. So this year we bit off a little bit more. We did the test day idea at CMP, the test day idea at Autobahn. And then Autobahn was like, hey, we've got a weekend in April if you want it. We usually don't have full weekends. This is the only one that's left. And I'm sure that was a little bit of a sales thing, right? But
like, no, they're pretty full.
Even though
they're split.
Yeah. So we're like, well, let's try it. So we've rented the track for ourselves for the whole weekend, and we're going to hope that people will come out for not only a track day, but we'll probably host like a dinner and try to make it a little bit more of a destination. That month, Grid Life is at, just the Midwest audience is obviously super aware of Grid Life, and it's pretty early in the year, and Grid Life is at Carolina Motorsports Park that month and Watkins Glen that month, which means there's probably a lot of people in the Midwest who aren't traveling 12 or 14 hours away and might be interested in a track day. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, it's fun.
You're invited.
We'd love to go. It's the other thing. We're nowhere near you guys. So like when you come to Lime Rock or when you come to New Jersey, we're like, oh, we can do those. Those are easy,
Sure.
So we'll get there though, and we'll bother you. We'll see you at several tracks. So Tom, where can people follow you best? I seem to like the Instagram and your YouTube series, but there's lots of places to follow along.
Yeah. So Instagram for me, Tomo Racing on Instagram and Facebook. I don't really do Twitter or definitely not TikTok. Sound like such an I found officially old when I hate TikTok. I'm not doing that one.
We call that techno Amish.
That's what I am?
That's our joke for when somebody doesn't get the new technology, why don't you just write a letter?
So that's those two, and then I do have my own YouTube channel, just Tom O'Gorman, but I only kind of just put in-car video up there and stuff. I help ASM run the social medias, so most of what you're going to see on the ASM or asmotorsports.us Instagram and the Facebook page is primarily me, unless it comes off as very technical. Then it was Andy, because he throws stuff in there too. And then our YouTube channel, the AS Motorsports YouTube channel, is probably the other good one that I'll be documenting the BRZ build. I want to do at least a video a month, but I made my mind up, because the first 5 videos, that was basically like 9 modifications before I even drove the car for the first time. And by the end of the 9th modification, I hated it. I hated everything about it. I didn't even want to drive it. I was so upset by it. You'll see it all in the video. And then the first time I drove it, it was all better. So I decided one mod, one drive, one mod, one drive for the rest of the build.
Well, that way you can tell what each one does.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
it'll keep me from getting to the point of being, overwhelmed.
Yeah. And you were starting with a bone stock, brand new car and taking it, I think your first increment was taking it from a OEM delivered product to a slightly lowered, slightly more sporty step. And then who knows how you progress.
Yes. I haven't even made up my mind. Ish. I kind of have an idea. But yeah, it was track basics. The first 5 episodes was acquiring the car, all the track basics up to the first track day. And I have to edit the next video.
Mm-hmm. We're looking forward to it, sir.
It'll be fun.
Yep. You make me feel better about turning wrenches.
That's what I'm here for.
Yep.
I'm excited.
One of the many things. Thank you, Tom. It's always great having you on. Say hi to DJ for us. We will bother you both, I'm sure. And are you going to New Jersey or Lime Rock?
Yes, Lime Rock, probably not New Jersey because it's not a points round now.
Okay. We're 50-50 on Watkins, so we may see you a couple times this year. So
Have you been real quick?
To where?
Watkins Glen?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you hadn't, I was going to be like, not an option. You have to go. It's the best track.
See, everybody around here, there seems to be the Watkins Glen crowd, and then there seems to be the VIR crowd, and then there's the Mid-Ohio crowd. And then if you go a little further south, they tend to bring in Road Atlanta into the discussion. So
Sure.
I think we've been to Watkins Glen a few times, and one, Grid Life sold out in like minus 10 seconds. So we'll see. But I think we're on the waiting list right now for Watkins Glen and maybe for Lime Rock too. We're in New Jersey though. So
cool.
We're definitely going to see you guys at least once. And whether you're there or not, in spirit, we'll be there.
Be there in spirit.
Exactly. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you guys so much. It's a blast.